Hi, welcome to Discussing Fitchburg Now. I'm your host, Sam Squalia. This week's show is on the cannabis industry, the medical industry, the recreational, or what we're calling adult use now on the cannabis industry. And I have a team of cannabis industry professionals and advocacy members to discuss what's going on in the industry and what changes we're seeing in Massachusetts with the change from medical marijuana being legalized to recreational now being legalized. So welcome, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
If we could go around and everybody introduce yourself and you know what team you work for.
My name is CLOUTIER. I'm with New England Veterans Alliance. We're a nonprofit that focuses on veterans' alternative care. We connect them with resources in their community to make them most successful.
My name is DURANTE. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at MEDWELL Health and Wellness. We're a health and wellness center that specializes in medical marijuana use and certifications, and we're the first stop when patients want to get certified to enter into the medical program in Massachusetts.
My name is GILMORE. I'm a co-founder and the Community Outreach Director for the Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council. We're a 501c4 nonprofit focused on bridging the gaps between communities and the government and cannabis businesses.
Hi everyone, I'm Rosa D'Souza. I'm a Fitchburg resident. I also run a consumer advocacy group called Fitchburg Citizens for Recreational Cannabis.
Great, thank you everyone. All right, so let's start with you, Joe. And you being on the Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council.
Yes.
So you've been right at the forefront at a lot of these meetings,
Right.
like planning board meetings and city council meetings going all around the state as cities and towns work to legalize their own ordinances and work towards, making our local ordinances jive with the state. And so what have you seen in, the recent months that this has been going on?
Right, so I've been a part of this for a while, since the beginning, since before the Cannabis Control Commission was even created. We at MRCC want to make sure that this industry benefits all communities and brings the best benefits to the towns. So right now, what we're really focused on is helping towns create the best regulations and the best zoning that's going to benefit the communities. So what I'm seeing around the state, there's sort of two sides to the coin. There are towns that are a bit more skeptical about, moving into this new industry, and there are some towns and cities that are really putting an effort into creating an inclusive industry so that people from the community can enter the business, and so that they have safeguarded regulations, for instance, public education and police training, different things that would help mitigate the concerns of the citizens. So what we're seeing around the state is a lot of planning and just preparing for what's going to come, hopefully in the next couple months.
So with the applications you're talking about, those are priority applications for those, what are the different categories?
So right now there
state?
is a priority application process, and that is for people who have been who live in communities that are disproportionately harmed by marijuana prohibition. I believe Fitchburg is on that list as well. So in order to get that certification, you need to meet 3 out of 6 requirements. You need to be in a neighborhood that has been disproportionately harmed by cannabis prohibition. There's 6 different provisions. I can't name all of them right now, but that window is closed. So there were around, I would say, 200 economic empowerment applicants that got their priority certification that would allow them to skip the line and sort of start or be reviewed first by the Cannabis Control Commission if they were to get a license. So.
All right. So we have the recreational and adult use cannabis industry and all of that going. But what we've had for the past 5 years, is it? We've had the medical marijuana industry.
Absolutely.
And Rob, that's where you add benefit to this conversation, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
So you work with physicians.
Yeah, so MEDWELL, like I said, it's a health and wellness center. We have physicians from all different practices and verticals, from geriatrics to pediatrics to just general internists that will meet with the patients, go over the program, go over the risks and the benefits associated with cannabis, and see how they can use the cannabis to treat the symptoms that they're trying to alleviate. We see things as serious and as, you know, debilitating as like cancer and HIV and epileptic disorders, and things as everyday that most people deal with, like depression and anxiety and chronic pain and really everything in between. There's over 250 qualifying conditions in the state, and Massachusetts is a very inclusive state. There's not a lot of things that just qualify you for a card. So it's nice in the sense that you don't have to be on your deathbed. If you're an adult, you're over the age of 18, you know it helps you and you're able to articulate that and you know, talk with a doctor about it, then you're going to get your certification and be able to go to the dispensaries and access safe, clean, reliable medicine. And that's really what it's all about, reliability and repeatable, you know, eliminating bad experiences and promoting the good ones, and you need reliable, safe access to do that.
Safe and legal access.
Yeah, exactly. It's about when you go to the dispensary and you purchase a strain, you know that's what it is, and you know the THC levels and the CBD levels, and you know that it's been tested for molds and mildews and heavy metals and pesticides and all the other bad stuff. And then
when you were getting it on the street, you might not have had that level of quality.
Well, there's tons of reputable growers and people that like know what they're doing and grow good, clean medicine, but there's a lot of people that don't and don't care. And I would say you're probably more likely to, you know, the regular person is probably more likely to end up with a product that someone didn't care about, and that's dangerous because if you're using it as medicine and you don't know what's in it, and if it works, then that's great, and you go back and get more, it could be something different. It could be a different potency level, and there's just so many variables. So you're trying to eliminate all the variables you can so that you can get a treatment plan that actually works for you and fits into your everyday life.
And so what would you say are the most common ailments that people come to you with that you recommend, you know, cannabis as a solution? One of the 250 qualifying factors?
I would say probably narrow it down to 5. It's chronic pain, anxiety, depression, PTSD, and like cancer usually. That's the highest population of our patients.
And for those different ailments, there are different strains of the cannabis that specifically target those ailments.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Yeah, and even more so than that, I would say it's more the methods of ingestion. So like the strains are great and they all offer different therapeutic benefits because they have different levels of cannabinoids and different levels of terpenes and different levels of flavonoids that all have an effect on you. But more so what you gain when you become a patient and you get to go to a dispensary is access to different ways of ingesting the medicine. You don't just have to smoke a joint. I mean, you can do that. You can go and buy a joint and smoke it, but you can get salves and creams you can rub on your skin. You can get time-release patches. You can get capsules you can swallow, things you can vaporize, things you can eat. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And that means that if you want to wake up and use your medication first thing in the morning, but you can't get high because you have to drive to work or you have to, whatever the case may be.
You can have a time release.
Not even that, you can have a product that doesn't get you high and provides a medicinal benefit or a time release that does get you high. But there's a way that you can get the therapeutic effects without getting the psychoactive effects. And the psychoactive effects have their place, and there's you know, there's a reason for it, but a lot of times, like during the day, people don't want that, so they have to try and get something else.
And so, Derek, you work with a lot of veterans, so you would deal with a lot of PTSD symptoms.
Yeah.
I've seen you post on the New England Veterans Alliance it looks like an injective. I'm not sure what it is. It looks like it's in a syringe.
Cannabis oil, RSO. Yeah,
Cannabis oil.
Yep.
Can you talk about that and how you've seen the medical treatments for with cannabis help with veterans?
I think what you're talking about is obviously the RSO, and it's a cannabis oil that you make with alcohol solvent.
RSO. What is it?
It stands for Rick Simpson's oil. It's not necessarily the official name for it because some people call it FICO. It's a full plant extract where you're using all cannabinoids associated with the plant. People use the stems, everything from the stems, roots, upwards to the flowers to make this, and we get donations from all different companies. They'll donate their unused materials like their trim that in the state of Massachusetts, I believe, you're not allowed to use that. So a lot of them have to get rid of their stuff at the dispensaries levels, but like smaller class caregivers, people that do like smaller grows, home grows, they donate things like that to us, and then we'll go
you can grow up to 12 plants at home for personal use, and you could gift that to someone?
6 plants per person, 12 per household.
12 per
with
household.
Two adults.
Okay.
But yeah, those people basically would then in turn give us the unused material that they aren't going to be using. We turn that into cannabis oil, and then you give that to patients that are cancer patients, people that are using it for PTSD, to come off of opiates. There's a lot of segues in addiction and opiates and pharmaceuticals. Using that has been a huge help to getting these vets off of these harder drugs and like heroin and things like that. And a lot of people aren't talking about it, but it is being used heavily to do that.
I have seen that advertised on the weed maps.
Billboard,
Advertising
yeah.
that the billboards that they put up, and they used to put those up in Fitchburg a lot.
Yeah.
And it was noted that areas that have allowed medical and recreational marijuana have seen reductions of opioid use by like 33%.
Right. I think it's 25%.
25%?
But it is a significant decrease. I worked at a dispensary, medical marijuana dispensary, and I worked with a lot of patients who were switching from their pharmaceuticals to cannabis, or antidepressants, or just different medications that they find a better quality of life with the cannabis. So.
Yeah, it's an easy segue to start with an oil like form like that. There's less stigma associated.
So what do you do with an oil?
You take you start them out with like about a half a gram of rice size, and you can use it in edible forms. I put it on chocolate, and you can dose yourself a lot better throughout the day with anxiety or depression. It's really good. I use it myself a lot of the times when if you're having a really hectic day and you just very scatterbrained, you can't do anything, you need to relax. You take maybe a dose of that, a little less than probably a gram of rice or a little more, and it almost feels like you're being weighted down and relaxed, and you're just able to focus and process things better. And it's just an easier segue because you don't get a full head high with it. You get more of a body high, and it's more relaxing. And it's something that we've been able to use to segue into either whether they want to use edibles, topicals, things like that. But that goes with like CBD versus THC and going through all the other cannabinoids. A lot of people don't know that within our own bodies we have cannabinoid receptors that act like lock and key with this plant, that when you ingest it, it affects you certain ways, and that's why it helps you with certain ailments, helps you fight addiction and everything like that. I'm sure Rob can probably talk more about that, but I forget how many different cannabinoids.
A lot.
A lot, yeah.
And we don't know a lot even.
And then
we don't
there's
There's
still
a lot of
studying.
cannabinoid receptors in our body, is that what you're saying?
throughout our
Well, so
entire
when the
body.
plant grows, and most people are familiar with like seeing like a flower of cannabis plant or a bud or something along those lines.
I
And
think we might have a picture that we can pull up of a cannabis bud.
when you
Roll
look
that up?
when you look at it, you're going to see like little white specks all over it. And inside the white specks are where the compounds that are the actual medicine.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
There we go.
exactly. So
Okay,
all the little white spots is where the actual medicine is. The rest of it's just plant material, and it's just a carrier for those.
What about
little,
those red
Hairs?
Yeah, what about the red hairs?
Yeah, those
the
have a
white-
whole. Those have a whole nother. They have a whole nother reason that they're there. But the medicinal part is the trichome heads, which are these little wax heads that are they're microscopic, but you can see them at the naked eye level. And inside them are the different compounds that make it a medicine. So there's THC, there's CBD, there's CBN, there's CBG.
Throughout the whole plant, it has in different areas it'll hold, like you said, CBG, CBN, different cannabinoids. And that's why you utilize the whole plant. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just use the flower that you see, and they smoke it, and that's the only thing people associate with weed
And
or
now,
cannabis. Or
and now with our
however you wanna call it.
modern extraction processes, we're able to extract those chemical compounds,
Exactly.
target them,
Yeah, separate them.
separate them,
Yep.
and specifically extract them and put them into salves or oils
Correct.
or
Exactly.
gummies
And then going
or
into the whole-
lollipops or
Make it pretty much out of anything.
Yeah.
Bath bombs,
bath bombs.
sugar, honey.
Very good.
There's many different ways that you can use cannabis.
Going into the
And-
the consuming it side, where with extractions and then using clean products, like you were saying, you have people that are buying gas station CBD that is coming from China, that they grow in these fields that are contaminated with heavy metals, which people don't really know. And when you consume that, it affects your body in certain ways. But if you extract it into a larger, you're extracting it into a more concentrated dose, you're concentrating that metal in that same aspect. So a lot of people don't really realize that. So I would stick to more local products, like CBD products that are grown through either in New England or wherever. But a lot of people get it from
I have a
China.
question about the CBD, because I've seen it advertised a lot from our local smoke shops.
Yeah.
And you don't need a specific marijuana license to sell CBD oil. Now, why is that?
Well, I don't know about the licensure to sell CBD oil. I don't know what that falls under, but to consume it, like anyone that wants to buy it, you don't need any sort of license for it. It's what Derek was talking about. It's actually a byproduct of industrial hemp. So they grow these hemp fields.
Byproduct of industrial hemp.
Yeah, they grow these massive hemp fields, and then they hack them all down, and they're growing it for the hemp fiber, and what they end up with is the CBD. You know, they refine it to a sellable point, and then that's what they make that product from it. So the problem with that is like Derek was saying, is a cannabis plant pulls any toxins and metals in the ground right out of the ground into the plant. It's used to clean soil, you know what I mean, to make dirty soil
site
clean.
remediation.
Correct, exactly. So if you're, you know, in small levels, it's probably not that big of a deal, but when you're extracting a massive amount of it and concentrating it down, and, you know, a hemp plant's gonna grow like 3-4% CBD if you're lucky, but something that's like CBD isolate is 99% CBD.
CBD isolate, is this a strain of?
It's a product you could buy. Like if you were to walk into a smoke shop, you could buy a little container of CBD isolate that you could do a lot of different things with. You can ingest it orally, you can vaporize it, you can mix it in with like your e-cigarette. There's a lot of, you could put it on cannabis that you're going to smoke as it is.
And so CBD is one of those things that doesn't have a psychoactive property,
Correct.
but it has the
Some
healing.
qualities.
It actually counteracts the psychoactive effects of THC. So if you need THC to do a lot of different things, but you can't ingest it in big amounts because it'll get you high, and then you're not able to go about your day. But you can counteract it with CBD, and it you know, you still get the same therapeutic effects without getting the psychoactive effects.
Inflammation, anti-inflammation, anti-anxiety. A lot of patients that I've worked with chronic anxiety or fibromyalgia, different ailments that have a lot of inflammation, CBD can be very beneficial for that.
So as a consumer, that's the one product I can purchase in Fitchburg.
CBD.
CBD oil. And
or-
I did my research, so I buy a product that is very, very high quality.
Yeah.
And I wait for it to be in stock. In fact,
Where do you buy it, and what is it?
Twin City, and it's called True Leaf.
You're going to have to wait that much longer
Yeah.
for it to be in stock now.
Yeah, yeah. So when it came out on the market, I was very excited because I suffer from anxiety and PTSD, and I'd been on medications, and I unfortunately never had the time to go see a doctor to get my license, and I just put it off. And then when CBD came on the market, I had done my research, I went and bought it, and I got myself off the medication. And I take it at night so I can sleep. I wake up feeling fine.
So you put like an oil on a chocolate?
I take it directly, so
Yeah.
I do it right
more
under
of a
my
liquid.
tongue,
Liquid.
and you know,
Sublingual
it helps
is the
me
best way to do it.
relax, and it helps me sleep, and given, you know, just stresses of life, it's one less thing I have to worry about, and there isn't any psychedelic
I use it for my dog.
influence.
Yeah, me too.
Your dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
My
use it-
dog is very skittish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just
Starter
for anxiety,
motivation.
but for pain. For pain
She's
in
a little
general.
anxiety dog.
Yeah.
I mean, it could help.
Dogs have
Yeah.
endocannabinoid systems too, and they
Yeah.
say THC is toxic to them, so it's good to start them with THCA or CBD or something like that. But
Did you see THA?
so when it grows in the plant, it's THCA. It's got an extra acid.
THCA.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you heat it up, so that's non-psychoactive, and it actually doesn't have any, like, it wouldn't get you high at all.
So if you ate it,
Correct. So if you were to walk by a cannabis plant and take a bud off of it and just eat it, nothing's going to happen.
Nothing.
You get a nutritional value.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
probably
The hemp
some
and
stomach
stuff.
issues
Yep,
maybe
exactly.
from
The amino acids and stuff.
chlorophyll, but
It needs to be
a
activated.
lot of people juice it. They'll juice the plant
Yeah,
as well. You
that's
get
the-
They'll
nutrients
use too.
from.
but you
Extra
don't
nutrients.
get
So
the
when you
psychoactive property.
So when you heat it up, it releases that extra molecule off the molecular chain, and then you're left with THC, and that's what's psychoactive. So if you're making edibles, the oil or
You
the
have to
cannabis,
cook it first.
correct.
Yeah,
Or if you're
decarbonate it.
like the RSO that we were talking about earlier, part of that process is it's called decarboxylation, and it's heating it up.
Carboxylation.
Yeah, to a very specific temperature so that it releases that molecule, and then you know but you don't burn it off or vaporize it. But if you don't do that, it won't. It's you know, there's very limited effects.
So the cannabis industry of today is much different than the marijuana that we had of 1970s, right?
Yeah.
It's
much
more daylight.
huh?
I mean, my dad was making hash on his back porch in the 60s in Texas. Like, people have been doing this for a long
Yeah.
time. It's just that now we know how to do it safely. We know how to do it
In
like
specific
yeah,
quantities
exactly.
and
Scientifically, I would say.
target.
Yep.
And I'm sure
And
that
there's a lot of research out there that the government won't say it is research, but I mean, look at Israel. They have been using it medically for years, and they have some pretty serious research going on. But there's other studies that have gone on throughout this country and other countries that prove how it affects us if they would actually just listen to it.
right.
Yeah, the UK has a pharmaceutical company that has a inhaler, and they market that.
Those
and
are
it-
great too.
Yeah,
An inhaler.
an inhaler.
Because of the
Cannabis
anti-inflammatory
inhaler.
anti-inflammatory properties.
Yeah.
There's a company in the U.S. that's trying to replace albuterol with cannabinoids because of the anti-inflammatory properties.
So you know, on that note, when it comes to other countries and our country as a whole nationally, so marijuana is still illegal at the federal level.
Yep.
Have we been experiencing, or can we expect to experience any problems with this administration, you know, coming down and on Massachusetts with, you know, with our legal recreational industry?
I would say we have a lot of support on our public official side. I mean, we have AG Maura Healey, Governor Charlie Baker, and the state police. They actually agreed to not enforce federal prohibition, not to work with the feds if they decide to start cracking down. They want to respect the will of the voters, and they want to create a safe industry, essentially, and not push it back.
Not have consumers live in fear.
Right.
Yeah. Well, in the Commonwealth, we're lucky. They uphold the will of the voters, and they take, at least the state police take that job very seriously. So we went to a seminar that was related to how it was for other law enforcement agencies put on by the state police about how to enforce these new laws, because this is things they've been prosecuting for years, and all of a sudden you're just not anymore. And they talked about firearms licensure and professional licensure and a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, what they said was that the lawful consumption, cultivation, or use of cannabis, whether it's medical or recreational, can't take away any of your other rights as a citizen of the Commonwealth. So firearms licensing and driver's licensing and professional licensing and things like that.
That was going on in the news for a little bit, that they were threatening to take away your license to carry if you had a medical marijuana card.
Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's a super gray area, and that's also a very touchy subject. And I have an LTC and I have a medical card. I'm a patient and a gun carrier, and
that's one of the leading stigmas that stop people from getting a medical card or
absolutely
trying to get any kind of medical help using
I don't want to
cannabis.
lose my.
It's a number one question.
My license.
Yeah.
You're gonna put me on a registry, and you're gonna take away my guns.
Yeah, but so the only problem I have with that is it always comes back to that list. Like, no one wants to be on that list, and people don't realize that recreational cannabis, you're going to be on a list. Like, you can't just go to every dispensary and buy 5 ounces at each one. There's daily limits, and each dispensary has to know what you purchased at the previous dispensary, so you're not ping-ponging from dispensary to dispensary to dispensary and going over your limits. So,
what's the daily limit?
For a patient in the medical program, it's 10 ounces every 60 days, and it's a rolling limit. So as you buy something, 60 days later, it comes off of your tally. For a recreational user, it's 1 ounce a day. So you could go every single day and buy an ounce if you wanted to, but you would have to do that over and over and over again. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot.
So for a patient, if you're buying,
1 ounce is a lot. You can't smoke 1 ounce in a day.
No.
I mean, I would have to like stop working completely for like an entire day.
But that's an ounce of dried flower. If you're a cancer patient and you need Rick Simpson oil, there's an equation that little tiny syringe of Rick Simpson oil turns into an ounce very quickly. So if you can go every single day and get your 2 syringes if you need a syringe every 2 days, but is that feasible if you're bedridden or if you're sick or anything like that?
So you can't. Oh, so you can't buy that in bulk.
No, most cancer patients have to take upwards of 1 gram a day of cannabis oil, and I mean, to make 1 gram, I don't even know. It depends on the amount of the extraction that they can get in a concentrated dose.
So that actually sounds cumbersome.
Yeah.
Cumbersome requirement, or.
And so then you can take it even one step further, as of right now, where they won't be able to deliver either, which is if you're in a hospice situation or a assisted living facility, or if you're...
But the medical industry is allowed to deliver, but not the adult
Right now, adult use will be able to eventually, definitely. That's something they're pushing for hard.
But it currently is not allowed.
Correct.
No.
Yeah, and neither is drive-through facilities.
Yeah, right.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Yeah.
There's hope.
Yeah.
Florida just passed one.
Yeah.
Really? And on the note of things that aren't allowed that might be allowed, social consumption as well.
Yeah.
So, we can go to, I believe in Fitchburg there were something like 86 locations where you can either go and buy alcohol or go and consume alcohol or have a pop-up event and consume alcohol in the middle of the street even. But but in the state we currently ban social consumption for marijuana, so you can't have a marijuana bar or a marijuana bakery.
Not yet.
You can't even
Not
smoke.
yet.
You can't even smoke in your backyard if your neighbor has a problem with it. It's considered an offensive odor. So if one of your surrounding a budding neighbors doesn't like the smell of the smoke and it's wafting into their backyard, they could call the police, and the police would have to come to your house and ask you to stop smoking in your own backyard.
Go inside your house.
Go inside your house, exactly.
So how do people consume when they have kids?
Kids, or you know what I mean?
So social consumption is something that's needed.
It's necessary.
It is necessary.
Yeah,
And
because people, what do people do right now? They get in their cars and drive around and smoke.
Right.
Which is also not allowed.
Yes, no, not at all. But
Yeah.
people do it because they're going to either be inside their house with their kids, or they could be outside and it could affect their neighbor. Or so a lot of people want to go somewhere. They want to be do that. People like myself, I don't drink at all, so it's I want another place. I feel like a social outcast because I don't drink. And
That's
when I go to
exactly,
events, I go to concerts. I went to a country concert in Boston recently, and as soon as you walk in the gate, it's beer here, beer there, beer there, beer
Right,
there.
there's beer everywhere.
And that's the only
Alcohol's
option that there
everywhere.
is. And there's no, for me, being around a bunch of drunk people, especially people that are probably down in their 20s, ready to fight and get into trouble, it's
That
not
happens.
something I want to be around, you know what I mean?
And when you really think about something like that, you could take, you know, the cannabis and turn it into a drink.
Oh, absolutely.
And you could you could order a beer, or you could order a cannabis drink,
Right.
Absolutely.
whatever.
And a lot of people use it to treat anxiety and depression and stuff like that. And if you have to hide in your basement to use it, that's not going to help you if you're trying to get out in social settings and get out back into the real world. I mean, the common misconception is that people just are stoners and they smoke weed and sit on their couch and do nothing. But I would say probably a good 95% of us use it to get back out into the real world, because without it, we wouldn't be able to.
Another point on the social consumption is that if you can imagine if they ended alcohol prohibition and didn't open any bars, that's a public safety issue.
Right.
Because right now you can only consume if you have a private residence. You can only consume inside your private residence. But what about the people who live in public housing? What about the tourists who are going to come for recreational marijuana? Where are they going to consume? Because if they have nowhere, they're probably going to consume in the street or in a car. And that creates a public safety issue too. So the Cannabis Control Commission will be revisiting the conversation around social consumption in October, and then 2018. In 2019, February, they are going to have draft regulations. So they're going to be taking public comments during the month of October.
In October.
Yes.
So we'll be anticipating by February 2019 that they'll have made a more permanent decision, and hopefully it's
Hopefully.
on the way towards a social consumption draft
Right.
regulation.
Yeah, and there are other states that have social consumption, and they
Colorado,
Colorado, yeah.
Washington.
Washington.
So
Lowered youth
They're not-
use, like they have lowered youth use, they have lowered opioid use, they have all that. I mean, it's the same thing. Money's going back into the community. That's what needs to happen around here.
Lower prescription rates too.
Lower
absolutely.
prescription rates of opioids.
Of that, yeah, but not
Or
just specifically.
antidepressants.
Yeah.
Okay.
And-
All right. So let's take a short break, and we'll come back to our discussion on the cannabis industry. our amazing drone footage by TDO Aerial Videography. So we're back to our Cannabis Roundtable. And so I'd like to start this discussion on what the recreational laws, the legalization, what it allows, right? So we discussed that you're allowed to grow 6 plants at home, 2 people per household, 12 plants total. Mm-hmm. That's one. What are the other? What else can we do as consumers of adult use cannabis?
Right. So MRCC, one of the things that we do at the Mass Rec Consumer Council is we create public education for consumers so that they are knowledgeable about the law, about their rights as consumers, and about safe consumption. So right here I have a pamphlet. It's called Consume Responsibly Massachusetts, and basically it outlines some of the laws in Massachusetts regarding possession, how much you can grow, how much the gifting policy, you're actually allowed to legally gift up to 1 ounce to another adult.
Gift up, so if you grow too much,
right,
you can gift 1 ounce to an adult.
Not too much is an answer.
Not too much?
I don't think there's a limit
Yeah.
on what you personally grow.
Inside your house, I don't think there's a
right.
limit.
You can
You're allowed.
grow as much
just can't leave
cannabis
your
as you can. Home grow does not have a limit on it, but gifting, you can gift up to 1 ounce.
Yeah.
What's the 1 ounce per month?
That's a big gray area in the law.
Really?
Right, yeah.
1 ounce at a time.
1 ounce.
At a time, yeah.
Dave, can we pull up the logo for the Mass Consumer Recreational Council so people know what to go to, what website? You're
Yeah,
on
if-
Facebook as well.
If anybody has any questions regarding the law, or even if you're interested in getting into the business side, we do consulting specifically
There we
for
go.
local businesses. We want to help empower local communities develop their own businesses. So
I did note, you also go to the Cannabis Control Commission meetings and you live stream them.
right, we live stream and document every hearing, and we provide summaries for our members. So if you want to become a member of MRCC and you want to stay updated on the policies and regulations, you can go to MA Consumers on Facebook.
All right, and there's the logo. Once you see that, you'll know what you're looking for. All right, so we have the medical dispensaries have been open.
Yep.
Okay, and they expect that recreational dispensaries, which you won't need to have a medical ailment to go purchase, those will be open at sometime by July. They might be able to be open, but what are we looking at for a timeline?
So right now, I mean,
So it's very disappointing from a consumer perspective. And I respect the government and wanting to have established regulations and doing it right. But unfortunately, because of their lag time, we'll call it, they're not going to be issuing licenses until the middle of the summer. And then once those recreational shops have their licenses, then they've got to go back to the city that they applied to open a shop, and then they've got zoning, and then so there's like another there's another 2 to 3 months.
They've got to do the community host agreement with the city.
The host agreement, the zoning, planning board, and that's why some companies are coming now to Fitchburg, to the planning boards, to start establishing a dispensary, or at least a grow house. And those that do have grow houses or medical marijuana facility, they're applying for those recreational licenses as well. So there's some hope that hopefully by September, I'm being optimistic, that maybe late September, we'll have an official opening in Fitchburg. But I'll tell you right now, wherever the first shop opens in Massachusetts, even if it's in Northampton, that's where I'm going, because I really want to support this business.
Yeah. So when we do have our first recreational retail dispensary, are we anticipating supply issues?
Totally,
Are we
yeah.
anticipating cost spikes?
Yes.
What are we looking at as consumers in this industry?
so yeah, go for it.
I mean, will it affect medical supply and price?
Yes and no. So first off, the first ones that'll open will probably be existing medical dispensaries that will open up a retail adult use section. It'll be 2 separate lines, so medical patients will be in one line and going to one set of registers, and recreational users will be going to another line and another set of registers. The good news for patients is that there's a minimum of 35% that the dispensary has to set aside.
For medical only?
So that the last gram can't get sold to a recreational user. It has to be set aside for the patient. And I'm not you guys probably answer this question better about the actual law, but the way it was explained to me and the way I understand it is it's actually a percentage based off the amount of patients you service at the moment. So it's a minimum of 35% if you're a newer dispensary that hasn't been open that long, but I guess it can get higher than that if you've been open for a long time and have a huge patient base.
So there's a ratio depending on your patient.
Of how much you have to set aside for patients, and then there'll be the price factor too. So there's going to be a minimum of a 20% sales tax on recreational cannabis, and it can go as high as 26% or 26?
23.
23, yeah. So anywhere from 20 to 23%.
Because the local can add a 3% sales tax.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, I know Fitchburg added a 3%.
Yep. So most of them will. They'd be, and so what that comes out to at the end of the day is if you're a medical patient not paying sales tax, you're probably going to be paying around a median price of around like $300 for an ounce of cannabis in a dispensary. Speaking with a dispensary owner the other day, he's planning on the final cost of an ounce for a recreational user is going to be closer to $500. And that'll be at first, and as soon as other shops start to open, competition will drive the price down. But that happens in every market, and so at first you got to weather the storm. But I think in Massachusetts being such a already tourist-driven state with people from Rhode Island and Connecticut, and New York and Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine, and we're in driving distance from a lot of different states, so you're going to have. There's going to be lines around the block, and I would expect probably it to sell out the first day. Within the first few hours. Vegas sold out in the first day.
And they had 75
Vegas
shops.
sold out their recreational.
Yeah, Vegas actually had this.
Vegas, like all of Vegas?
Yeah,
They shipped it in from California.
they had this crazy law where only people that had licenses to transport liquor were allowed to transport cannabis from the grow operation to the retail store. So what happened was they opened and they sold out in the first day or two, and they couldn't drive any of the product from the grow house to the.
They didn't have enough trucks.
Yeah, so the governor actually had to issue a state of emergency to lift that law so that they could transport it in other vehicles. So
you pass legislation and you don't really realize the impact to some
well, you
of
said
them.
they had 75 shops in
Yeah,
Vegas?
they had a lot in Massachusetts. I think it's something like around 20.
Right now we have 26 open. And
26 open medical dispensaries.
Yep, and some of them are the same company, you know what I mean, with more than one location.
Yep.
But if everything I'm hearing, all the rumblings and everything like that, it looks like there's probably going to be like 2 or 3 that are going to be able to do it at first. I don't know where. Some people say July, some people say January. It's going to be somewhere in between there. And those ones are going to be really busy. They're going to be people are going to be coming from all over the place to go there. Like you said, you don't care if it's in Northampton.
I'll drive.
And I think a lot of people share that sentiment.
Outside the state that are saying that.
Yeah, there's people in New York and all over the place, and I think that there's a lot of people that have thought about getting their medical card and have thought to themselves, why would I do that? Why would I? Because it's an out-of-pocket expense. We can't build the health insurance, so you have to spend $200 to get the certification for the year, and people in a lot of scenarios would think, why would I do that when recreational is right around the corner? But there's a lot of reasons why. The price, the accessibility. For me, it's the accessibility. It's not having to wait in a 2-hour-long line to get medicine that I'm already anxious enough in public. I don't need to be, So that's how I look at it. And that's a question everyone asks us the most. It's, can I have an LTC, and why would I get my card if recreational is right around the corner?
So let's talk about that. We're going to have the recreational adult use option, but we have the medical option already. And what does that look like for I'm anxious, I have anxiety, maybe cannabis can help. What does that look like? Explain the process.
Well, so the process is you make an appointment, you come in and you see a physician.
And your physicians are MEDWELL
employees that MEDWELL Health and Wellness Centers.
MEDWELL Health and Wellness Centers, and you have 7 of them throughout the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah, we have Brockton, Brookline, Lowell, Somerville, Mashpee, Pittsfield, and we're just about to open an office in Worcester, probably next week.
Probably the closest to
Yeah,
Fitchburg.
Worcester. Yeah, Lowell too is probably about like half hour, 40 minutes from here.
Okay.
So you make an appointment, you come in, and you fill out some paperwork so that we can go over your medical history. We want to know what kind of medications you're taking. We want to know what kind of ailments you're suffering from. We want to know what you're currently doing to try and get relief, if it's working okay but not enough. We want to know over-the-counter supplements. We try and get as comprehensive of a background of your medical history as we can. And then you'll have an evaluation with one of our physicians who will talk to you about cannabis use and talk to you about the different benefits you could get from it, as well as what the risks are associated with it. I mean, in 99% of cases, the benefits are going to outweigh the risks for most people. So you'll get your PIN number, which is how the state identifies that you've seen a physician. You have to fill out an online application, and the state reviews that.
State application.
Yep, to the Department of Public Health. And they'll review that for about a week or so, and then issue you a temporary ID that you can print out of your home printer and use while you wait for your hard copy to show up in the mail.
And when you say use, does that mean you go
So
to
then
a dispensary?
Yep, you grab your ID and you get in your car and you drive to the dispensary, or you can order delivery as well. A lot of them will come
Or
right to your
you
house.
can order delivery. And so can I have my state ID card for marijuana use, and can I go to any dispensary?
Yep. So we, in our office, we're going to give you a list of all of them. You can go on our website on medwellhealth.net, and we have an interactive map where you can type in your zip code, and it'll show you all the dispensaries around you. It'll show you the discounts they give for like new patients that have never been there before. It'll show you any rewards programs they have, loyalty programs, ways you can save some money on the medicine. And so you're allowed to go to any of them. Once you go to one, you're not like married to that dispensary. You can literally go to every single one on the same day if you wanted to. And you walk in and...
But there's a limit per day,
Nope, per 60 days.
for 60 days
Yep.
of...
10 ounces of dried flower or its equivalent in an edible form or topical form, or
So if you go to 10 different dispensaries and buy an ounce from each one, that's...
you hit your limit. And then 60 days later, you'll get those 10
Like,
ounces
and they
back.
plug in the pin, the state-issued pin to check your balance,
So you walk
They
in.
dump
your quota.
Yep. So you walk in, and there's a security guard who's going to usher you in, and he has a little podium that he's going to check your IDs at. And as long as you still have an active limit and you're active within the system, he'll let you into the actual like dispensary portion. Which, what I always tell all my patients is, whatever you think your preconceived notion of how it's going to go, it's total opposite. They're super well lit, clean, friendly, beautiful facilities. These people have spent a ton of money making these places very open and inviting and friendly. I mean,
It's not the modern drug den.
No, it's like an Apple store. You know, yeah, exactly. But there's one in Bridgewater that has a moss. The whole walls has moss all on it, and there's
Moss?
yeah, exactly. It's awesome.
live moss.
Yep. It's
Cool.
We didn't tour that facility.
yeah. It's Theory's one. They're really great people over there. But
Very green.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you go in and then you meet with a patient care specialist who's going to show you the menu.
This is at the dispensary.
Yep.
The menu, and so you can discuss your ailments with your...
I always compare them to like pharmacy technicians. You're going to talk to them, you're going to tell them what's your ailments are, and they're the best resource because they're the ones that are seeing 40, 50, 60, 70 patients a day that all have the same issues, and they're coming back and they're saying, hey,
This
this
one's
works
got a good
awesome for
review.
me. Right. So they're not doctors. They're not saying go home and smoke 2 of these and see how you feel tomorrow, but they're going to say, oh, I had a person come in earlier that was saying the same exact thing, and he loves these lozenges or these patches or something like that. And anecdotal evidence is really all we have right now. Like Derek was saying, there's studies that go on in the UK, and Israel's on the forefront of it right now.
But we can't legally study them at the federal level.
Well, actually,
Correct.
we do study them at the federal level, but that information is not available to the public.
Correct.
And
They don't
it's
disclose the
limited in
information.
Yeah.
its scope, likely.
Yeah.
And the
there's
materials that they're
pharmaceutical-
using is not, that's all subpar material. It's not really grown to the specs that you would see
Maximized,
in
right.
a medical program in Massachusetts.
Can we pull up, Dave, the MEDWELL logo so that people know where that is? So here's one for you. Oh, that was one for, there we go.
There it is.
That's you. So you can go to MEDWELL on Facebook.
Yep,
Or on your website,
yep.
find you on your website.
medwellhealth.net. We actually have our website's, I'm proud of it. We have an event calendar that goes over all the events in the industry that are happening. So if you're
There
interested
it is,
in stuff like that.
medwellhealth.net.
Yep. And we have an FAQ section that has a lot of answers to the stuff we just talked about too.
Okay, great. And so then you get so you can go to your medical dispensary and you can buy gummy bears or food or oil or
I mean,
any of that.
They make bar pizza, they
It's
make queso
not,
dip, they make...
insurance doesn't give you any discount.
Nope.
Especially as a federal, like for myself, I'm a veteran, disabled vet. I'm a federal patient technically, so I can't just go to the VA and talk to the VA
Right.
and say, hey, I need this, medical marijuana. This is what's helping me. Although my doctors specifically are fairly pro cannabis, and a lot of the doctors I've noticed in Massachusetts have been pro cannabis from what I've heard. We're still on fixed incomes. We're still limited to what we can afford and what we can get. So like what I do is I'll go and I'll educate another veteran on how to grow for themselves or how they could get going, or work with another veteran where they could team up and grow for each other. One grows at one house and then they help each other, trim it up however they do it. And then they go and they pass it on to somebody else and they're helping people in their community. My thing is, pay it forward. If somebody teaches you, then you teach them, teach someone else.
Teach a man to
And
fish.
exactly.
Okay,
And,
let's segue right there into how do I grow it myself?
carefully.
How do I get the seed? Can you buy seeds?
Yep.
You can.
Can you buy seeds at a dispensary?
Nope.
You can find them in the
There's a
flower.
funny loophole.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes you find
Yeah, but
seeds.
you don't want it to cultivate for yourself as a medical patient. You'd have to waive your rights. I think as a patient under the hardship cultivation side, and you can get seeds, I think, at a dispensary, but you can't buy product there. There's some weird stipulations.
Yeah,
to it.
so now that more and more states are legalizing, there's seed banks online, and there's trade shows you can go to and get seeds, and they're becoming a lot more accessible.
If you're a veteran comes in.
So it's not super easy to get the seeds.
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's hard.
It's not hard.
I mean, if you can use the internet, then you can. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not like it's illegal. You just have to. Yeah, you can.
It's not
the seeds
illegal to
themselves-
buy seeds
Yeah, they're not-
for
it's-
marijuana plants.
So even if you live in a state that it's not legal to grow marijuana in, until you grow that seed, that's when it becomes illegal. It's not illegal to have the seed. It's when you cultivate it and it turns into a plant. Is when it's
Federally,
illegal. Yeah,
or
exactly.
or in states that it's not allowed.
A lot of time you'll get it and it'll say souvenir on it. You know, in the package, if you do get it mailed to you, it'll say souvenir use as.
Right. Only cultivate if
Yeah.
your state and local laws permit.
Yeah, and there's lots of, on Facebook and on the internet, there's a lot of cannabis growers that you swap, trade,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
trade
Tons of
seeds,
forums.
trade product, gift each other.
Yeah. Oh,
product.
okay.
Yeah, you'll have one person grow
little
one specific
communities.
strain.
Little communities.
That's the best way to do it. I mean, especially with the dispensaries that are going to be coming out, and this could be a possible shortage. If you're able to grow a certain strain, and then somebody else grows that specific strain, you
Can
can.
we pull this picture right up on the screen, Dave, that you have up there, what a marijuana plant looks like?
So this flower is actually from a local cultivator, Farm Bug Co-op.
Farm Bug?
Co-op. So
Farm Bug Co-op.
they're cooperative farmers, and
Okay.
they work together to cultivate. So local farmers, we very much support.
I would
Alright.
say if anyone's ever thought about growing cannabis, I would just say to do it. It's not, anyone can do it.
They call it a weed.
Yeah,
'cause
right.
it's probably
Yeah.
easy to grow.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's
It's
hard
like
to
a
grow
tomato
high
plant,
quality.
Really. If you
Yeah.
can
Like a
grow a
tomato
tomato
plant.
plant, you can grow.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, Derek. My tomatoes have never yielded. I've got like one tomato.
Well, that's the hard part with cannabis too, getting it to yield. But
Yeah.
And
water
you
them,
know,
Rub
a lot of the accessories that you need, like a grow tent, you can get that on Amazon.
yeah.
You can pay
Short
800
money.
bucks and get the entire setup.
So
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
internet, you can learn how to grow
how-
your
yeah.
own cannabis for your either medical or
We
Yeah.
have seminars and educators that are throughout the
There's-
state actually that they have classes and workshops where you can learn and go to. They have conventions like New England Cannabis conventions that have seminars and demos and things like that so that people can learn. And there's conventions, I don't know, every couple months there's
Yeah.
probably a
One
convention.
coming up in July, Canacon.
Yep.
what's the
At the Heinz in Boston in July is Canacon. They do that every year.
Canacon?
Yep.
Yep.
And then the biggest one is in March, and that's NECAN, New England Cannabis Convention. That's the one of the biggest trade shows in the country for cannabis.
We'll all be there.
Yeah. Every year.
Set up as vendors.
Vendors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Exactly.
And then the other thing is the Boston Freedom Rally. That's another big educational event. That's probably the biggest cannabis educational event on the East Coast, where they have music acts and things like that. But they also have an education village where they have the history of cannabis. They have the everything from the cannabinoids that we talked about to how to consume it, and then going into the different organizations and growers and cultivators or consumer education. They have everything that you could think of and there's tons of that's still coming and rolling out in events. And I mean, you just look up on the internet and you'll find something.
So keep an eye out for the Boston Freedom Rally. That's going to be in September. It's hosted by Mass Can Normal, and they're one of the oldest advocacy groups for cannabis in Massachusetts. I think since
Normal's
91.
been around for
Yeah.
forever.
Right,
Yep.
you're right. And their chapter of Mass Can Normal, I believe, started in 1991, and they've been sort of the pioneers in Massachusetts to help push this forward.
Yeah.
National Organization for Reform of Marijuana Laws.
Yes.
Yes.
And I've been a advocate or consumer and gone to the freedom rallies. And just it's really, as an individual, it's just great to see the transition from, reefer madness into now it's legal, it's accepted, and I can talk about it freely. And people may joke about it, like at work, like, oh, so you're gonna go home and smoke a bowl? I was like, you know it, because I don't want to kill you tomorrow.
Maybe I will, because it's legal.
Right.
That's the
And
stigma
it's-
that
and it's
still
the-
follows around
Right,
it.
because
Yeah.
no one, people talk about going home after work and having a beer.
Right,
glass of
exactly.
And they don't go, you're going to go home after work and have a beer.
Just the other day, I was in one of the stores around here, and one of the officers came up to me, and I I talked to one of the other guys that I did know he was with, and he said, "Oh, I want you to meet Derek. You know, he's working with veterans." And I told him what I did. He goes, and he basically said, "Oh, you're a drug dealer." And I said,
A drug
"No,
dealer.
that's far from what I do, because obviously I don't provide the meds or sell them in any
You
way.
just
I
advocate
do give
for-
medication away when I grow for myself and I have extra. I will
You
gift
gift?
it. Yep, gift. But like a lot of, that's the misconception that a lot of people are stigmatized by is, oh, you're a drug dealer, or you're this, or you're just
Right.
because you're using cannabis doesn't, like, to me it's not a drug. So it's kind of offensive in a lot of ways to hear stuff like that. And I think everybody that's here can probably agree that if you keep continuing to talk about it, talk to your neighbor, go to these meetings, the council meetings and planning meetings. And
Destigmatize it by
Absolutely.
discussing it.
Yeah, keep talking about it.
Because it seems like so many people use cannabis.
And a lot of the education that's out there, a lot of people, they're going off of old reefer madness that, I mean, I don't know, it's hard. It drives me crazy sometimes.
If you spent 2 hours in one of my offices, you'd be shocked at the people that you could see coming and going. It's not kids that are looking to get high. It's sick people that really are like at the end of their road. They've tried everything. They've been taking pharmaceuticals for however long, and there's like a place for pharmaceuticals. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. But it's when, you know, things that are supposed to be used for like a couple of months or a couple of weeks, and you start using them for years and years and years, that's a problem. So
A lot of the pharmaceuticals have some heavy side effects.
yeah, exactly.
And if
then
you
need more
if you can mitigate some of those pharmaceutical drugs, and they're expensive, if you can mitigate some of those by a cannabis strain
there's a
that
lot of
might solve the same thing with non-addictive qualities.
Right.
No side effects.
There's a lot of essential oils out there that people don't know about that they could use to help them with many different issues.
CBD essential
No,
oils?
I'm talking about any
Like
kind of
lavender.
essential
Oh,
oil.
The thing is that
okay.
aromatherapy has been around for thousands and thousands of years, and the compound, like the terpenes that are in a lavender oil or like a citronella or something like that are the exact same compounds that are in cannabis that give it a lavender smell or a pine smell. So like when you smell a pine tree, it's a chemical called pinene, and it's the same chemical that's in pine sol, and it's the same chemical that's in weed that smells piney, and it's the same chemical that makes a lemon smell like a lemon also makes a cannabis smell lemony, or a skunk smelling like a skunk. It's the same chemical. So people have been using lavender and citronella and all sorts of stuff for thousands of years. And
For different ailments as
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
like to sleep, you might use lavender, I guess.
Yep,
And a lot of the, going back to like the cannabis oil with RSO or FICO, however you want to call it, a lot of people are mixing those essential oils in with it to add terpenes, to add these other beneficial cannabinoids to it, and other scientific things that I can't really understand, but I'm trying to learn.
It's called the entourage effect. So
Yeah.
they say that like the sum of the parts is much more than just individually. So when you have THC, that's great, and when you have CBD, that's great too. But when you add them together, 1 + 1 = 3, and they work together synergistically better than they do on their own. And the same thing goes for the terpenes and the flavonoids and all the other compounds too that are in lower quantities. The more you can add into the overall, that's why the full plant extracts are so medicinally beneficial, because they have all of the different compounds inside them, and they all interact with each other, and they agitate your your receptors in your body so that they're more able to absorb the medicine at a quicker rate and make it more bioavailable. And it's much, much better than just doing just CBD or just THC alone.
Knowing the science, you can really up the efficiency
Yeah,
of your
exactly.
your medicine ingestion.
Well, you kind of have to learn it along yourself,
Yeah.
because
You don't have a
it's
choice.
not for everybody. It's not going. What works for me isn't going to work for him or her. It's different for everybody. So you kind of have to go about it. So specific strains may help you for specific ailments and conditions, but you take that strain for that one person, it might not work for you or the other person, but it could work for somebody else. And that's why it's hard for a doctor to. For people, they won't prescribe it. There's nothing that they will prescribe. This amount of milligrams of THC and CBD will help you with this and this. It's just different people, affects different. Some people don't get high. Some people, it just doesn't affect them in some ways, like because they're just immune to it, or like myself, I use more higher doses of cannabis because I consume it on a more regular basis, but it doesn't get me high. It gives me more of like a clear-minded, flat line, very calm, and now I'm rambling because I haven't had it, but it's something that will bring you out of your isolation and get you more out there. And
It's more
something that we're gonna
therapeutic
talk
than a
about.
drug.
Yeah, absolutely.
More therapeutic.
You just can't prescribe it. It's just something that you have to figure out how it works for you. And then like it goes to starting with topicals or starting with edibles or things like that, and you progress and you learn about it, and all the information's out there. You just have to put it on.
And
the
mostly
computer.
seniors is probably the highest demographic that I see coming to the dispensary. So
For chronic pain.
right, for insomnia, seniors
Insomnia.
who can't eat, who have really bad back pain. There's so many different things that it can be beneficial for.
I think they're the largest population that's using cannabis right now. Is
The senior
they're,
population.
I mean, the largest growing population
yeah.
using it.
Growing it, yeah.
No,
Well,
I mean growing.
Oh, the largest
The population is
the-
growing.
the-
Everything's
the
growing.
population's growing.
Exactly.
It's a budding industry.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so in the last few minutes that we have on the show, let's can we talk about what changes we can expect to see in the recreational industry in the next year? What do you think?
So I think that we're going to see the market slowly starting to develop, but that's only going to happen if community members are a part of the process. We want to make sure that the companies moving into our towns, hopefully they're local so that they keep the money within the city. And the way that we can do that is by showing up as a community to these community discussions.
The planning board meetings.
Right, planning board, city council meetings, zoning hearings, anything that
You're
has
free
to
to
do.
speak at almost all of these
Right. Mm-hmm.
meetings, planning board or city council. There's a public forum right at the beginning where you're able to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so I want to encourage our viewers tonight to join me on the July 10th at the planning board meeting when we're going to have another...
In Fitchburg.
In Fitchburg. It's at 6 p.m., I believe. I'll post it on our Facebook group, and I encourage you to join as well. Again, that's Fitchburg Citizens for Recreational Cannabis. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to partner with MRCC, was to really be the voice of the consumer. Because when I spoke at the planning board meeting back in April, I wanted to give the members the face of a recreational cannabis user. This is what we look like today. So whatever preconceived notions you had, that doesn't exist anymore. These are people in my age demographic, and we're successful individuals. We're career people. We're parents. We're employed. We're not stoners. I really hate that term. And so I want to encourage community members, to join me on July 10th at the planning board meeting. There'll be a new company. I can't think of the name of it right now. It's going to be coming to the board to talk about a dispensary and then also a grow house.
The new one on Industrial Road.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. So I encourage all of you to come, and if you can't speak, don't worry. I've got a very eloquent, and I'm not afraid of talking to people I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really it's going to be what companies are coming into the cities and towns and to get involved.
Get involved for
Yeah.
sure.
Get involved.
Yeah, there are jobs out there too, so people can start looking
And
for that.
there's going to be a lot of
There's gonna be
lot of employment opportunities.
There are, and Mount Wachusett has a marijuana training certificate course right now as well. So even the community college in the area knows that it's a growing
Industry. All right,
and
great.
and they want to have the workforce.
Well, thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks for having us.
We have Derek and Rob, Joe, Rosa. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next week. This has been Discussing Fitchburg Now.